Hello, legends and super legends. Welcome to Veloharmony Live. Today, we're going to be talking about the occurrences in the Tour de France, Stage 1. Bike racing is risky enough without spectators contributing to problems out there on the road.
Your boyfriend plays video games instead of spending time cuddling
So,
with
what I
you?
want to talk about today is that the good thing is the ASO, which is the organization that runs the tour, decided to file a lawsuit against the lady that stuck that sign out there. Those of you who did not see it, later on I've got some snapshots that I can show you regarding what happened. The guys were riding down the road, and the lady just, she had a sign, and Tony Martin was interviewed, and he said he saw it, but by the time he could react to it, she moved it in his way. And you can kind of see it here. Let me share the screen here. That's the screen here. This is a Cycling News article about that. But basically, what he was saying is that, just to summarize, those of you who want to see it, is on cyclingnews.com. He said that he saw the sign, but by the time they could pass the lady, she changed the position of the sign and stuck it out in the road, causing Tony Martin to go down first. And just a mass pileup occurred. And this basically stopped the race. And it impacted people's participation in the race. One rider had to abandon the race. And then also, if you got a guy like Chris Froome who has been working his way back from injury, he crashed also. And it took him a while before he got back on his bike. So there's a lot involved, and they should not allow these people to just be careless on the side of the road. So they really need to start looking into that. Here are some of the snapshots that I got. Let me share the screen here. I'm going to maximize this to just kind of walk you through what happened. There's the sign the lady's holding, allez, what is in French. She's on the left. And as he approaches, you can see it. This snapshot shows the sign is actually on the road, because Tony Martin is on the right. The NL Jumbo team, the whole team pretty much went down, and it's just one person's carelessness. You can see right there, after he goes down, they basically had to, there were like bikes broken, derailleurs hanging, a rider's hurt. It was just a mess. And this really impacted the race. I mean, even Team Ineos has a couple of guys that are no longer in contention, Richie Porte being one of them, because of the delay of this crash. So, bike racing is dangerous enough without allowing people to just be careless when they're standing on the side of the road. So the thing is that it was just a careless action on this lady. And in the past, people have been injured and hurt, pedestrians. Because if a bicycle hits you at speed, you can get injured, seriously. But this thing pretty much took down riders, broke frames. I'm going to show you one of the frames here. Basically, look at the frame. This is this team, Bahrain, UAE team, the UAE team. Look at the seat stay. It's gone. They had wheels that were pretty much broken in half. So they have 5 or 6 bikes that were unrideable. That creates a problem. Not everybody's got spare bikes necessarily. There's just too many riders. And so you got one person doing something foolish like that. You know, people standing on the side of the road need to stay on the side of the road and stay off the road. You're not a part of the race. So the ASO is going to sue her just to make a point. You know, and that's what I read in the cycling news article. You know, the sign was being held. If you got to see the race, the sign was being held. The sign was not necessarily a problem, but at the last minute, she stuck the sign in the path of Tony Martin right there. You can see it. She's trying to, I guess, get in camera view or whatever, because you can see she's looking towards like the motorcycle camera or whoever's filming this shot, and she stuck the sign in the road and he went down because he said he wasn't expecting it to be there. He saw her, he said, I saw her with the sign, but at the last minute she stuck the sign, he could not react, and everybody just went down. Everybody toppled over. I mean, at speed, when crashes happen, a lot of times there's nothing you can do. You just go down. You know, and so she's going to be sued. They all should be held accountable because they know it's a bike race. The race goes from town to town. The race brings business to these towns. So the towns want the tour to come through there because you think about it. You've got the entourage coming the day before, people coming, filling up hotels. The businesses benefit from it. Your town gets on TV and all of that. So it's good for the town. So, yeah. The races have been held long enough, and they've had enough of this kind of stuff for people to know, to use their common sense to stay off the road. A few years ago, they were even running ads using the riders, telling people, you know, enjoy the race, but stay out of it, that kind of stuff. Because this stuff can mess up. I mean, look at how many years Froome been trying to come back. Granted, he's not necessarily going for GC at this point, but if he had broken something again, it would have set him back. You can cause serious harm, and a lot of riders got hurt. Tony Martin was all bandaged up in stage 2 today, you know, and it's just careless. That's all it is. They need to stay off the road. It's not that complicated. Stand off the road and watch the race go by. There's no point in her sticking that sign out there. That didn't accomplish anything other than create a mess. So it's a mess, and it's affected a lot of teams, you know. So Ineos now got only 2 guys that have enough of a position to go for GC: Geraint Thomas and I think Carapaz, because Richie Porte now lost time. So they had 4 guys that they were trying to hinge on to be their leaders, because in the Tour you don't know what's going to happen, who's going to really be on form. So it's kind of like that, you know. Yeah, Froome was in the crash as well. And it took him a while before he got back on the bike, and he's hoping to feel better day after day to be able to stay and finish the race, because he wanted to get racing in his legs and probably go for the Vuelta this year. You know, it's just, it's unfortunate. Bike racing on its own, even after this occurred, later on in the race, they were descending and wheels touched, and there was another crash. So crashes happen, so they don't need spectators adding to it. There's enough risk in bike racing, you know. So I just kind of wanted to talk about that. I'm using images on here, and since, you know, they have what they call fair use, because I used to do a little narration on some of these races, and then the different organizations started complaining, and it was hard to get a deal with them to where I could use things. So I'm hoping that I wouldn't have any problems. So if this works out like I'm hoping, because I did some research, I talked to some lawyers and so forth. So they say, yeah, you can use images from some of the races as fair use per se for educational purposes or for basically teaching and so forth. And this definitely qualifies. YouTube does not want the hassle because it's a legal thing, and they don't want to spend time legally trying to fight for stuff like that. So a lot of times they want to make sure you know what you're doing before you do it. So if this works out, I will start looking at the stages as they come, especially in the biggest races, because people have been asking me to get involved in looking at some of the races. People ask questions, are you watching the Giro and so forth? I do follow the races. I have Eurosport, which I have access to. You kind of have to use a VPN on this side of the Atlantic because they don't let US IP addresses run Eurosport. But those are also are hardcore and want to really see the races, I don't mind getting the VPN to do that. So I have access to the images and so forth, but this is the first time I've been able to find a way to just use some snapshots so we can talk about these stages as they occur. Yeah, so it's been kind of cool. But when I saw that crash, I was like, that's just too stupid. It didn't have to happen, and it was a mess. Let's see who all here. We got Alpine. Yeah, welcome. Yeah, that's I mean, it wasn't intentional what she did, but she was careless. They don't need. She was basically, her right foot is on the tarmac. As you can see, you can't really see her foot there in this shot, but she's on the road. The sign literally is taking up the space that Tony Martin is using because they're in an echelon. He and his team. And so he hit the sign. And actually hit her a little bit. If you look at the video, he hit her. And they ended up in the ditch, a bunch of riders, because the edge of that road, there's nothing there but a ditch. She should have been standing in the grass like she had been earlier. Because he said, I saw the lady. And, the article that he's referring to, let me get it back up here. This is the article he's referring to. It said Tony Martin, this is cycling news. Tony Martin, Jumbo-Visma, was the first rider to fall in the mass crash that marred stage one. And basically what he says is, I saw the lady, I saw the sign, but at the last moment, she turned the sign into the road. So there was no time to react. And when you watch it on video, that's what you see. It was sudden. No one expected it, of course. And just, it was just a mess, But, it didn't detract from the performance of the ultimate stage leader. Alaphilippe, basically, right here, you can see, this is where I took a screenshot of him. This is where he made his move. They were expecting Van der Poel to go, and I guess he wasn't feeling it. This is where he made his move, and it was about a little over a mile to the finish on a hill, which was very early to go, but he held them off and ended up, winning the stage. They were not able to pull him back, And as we speak, today's stage has already ended, and Van der Poel did something similar. So it looks like it's going to be an interesting tour. And what I'm going to try to do is have these little live 1-hour sessions where we can talk cycling and talk about the races that are going on, not just for the tour, but for the other races that are coming up, because this time of year, the racing is picking up again. It's good to see after what happened last year, So it's kind of cool. But yeah, they do need to do something. The spectators need to understand and take it seriously. They're putting the riders and their health at risk, So let's see here. Yeah, Alpine says the lady holding the sign looking the other way seemed almost intentional to cause the crash. I don't know. She was. It looks like she was posing, because right here, this is the best picture I got. You can see she's looking. Yeah, like you said, she's looking. It's like she's posing for the camera with her